Hello everyone, it's Cherie, and this is my September 2024 update vlog. So my indie film, The 99%, is still in pre-production. I am almost done with the shooting schedule. Now what I have to do is meet with my cinematographer tomorrow and go over some things I added. Now these are not scenes with the actors, but it's B-roll footage for montages to go between sections of the film. I already have a montage at the beginning. It's over the credits. It's, got the pop song and everything. But then I want a montage for when she and her coworker go to Santa Cruz, she meaning the protagonist. And then I want a scene, a montage where Silicon Valley is waking up and you see all the people working, the vendors, the cleaners, just like the early morning people that get the valley going. And then a montage after the protagonist's mother dies, and it's Silicon Valley falling apart, like all the empty buildings, the graffiti, the homeless people, and it turning into night. So I think those will be nice transitional scenes, and it's good not to always just see faces and faces and faces. Sometimes you need, to change it up a little. So those will be added. Once I have that, I can figure out the shooting days, and I'll make a video about it on my channel, The 99% Movie. And then I can move into figuring out the budget, because once I have the shooting schedule, I can start, just punching in numbers. So I'm really happy to be getting this close now, because after the budget, then I can do the crowdfunding, and yeah, that'll be nice. All right, so what have I done this past month outside of my regular day job and working on the 99%? I read a book, Revival by Stephen King. And I read this because Mike Flanagan, my favorite horror director, had evidently written a script for it and he wanted to shoot a movie version. Ended up not happening because logistically it spans like 40 years. So, a lot of money goes into that, especially like with the main character. He's a preacher who harnesses the power of electricity, and his goal is to see into the afterlife using these electrical powers he's kind of come across. So yeah, it would be really hard because you have this 20-year-old preacher and then like 40 years later, and there's got to be de-aging or lots of makeup, and then the point of view character is an 8-year-old kid, and so then he's like in his 40s or 50s by the time it ends, so you got to get actors who look like each other, and then you're doing different time periods. So it's expensive to do that kind of stuff. So I can see why maybe it was put on the back burner. As for the story itself, it was interesting. I mean, Stephen King always writes page turners, but the ending, the last act, was very H.P. Lovecraft. It goes into the, what's it called, like existential horror. That's not really my thing. So it wasn't my favorite Stephen King book. Glad I read it, but yeah. So that's that. I've also been trying to read scripts. I want to try to read one screenplay a week. Haven't quite been doing that yet, but I did read 3 screenplays in the past month. Mulholland Drive by David Lynch. I read that because I just rewatched the movie. And now, because I rewatched the movie, I read the screenplay, and I've watched some videos on YouTube, I think I understand it a little better now. And I wouldn't mind watching that movie again in the future. Then I read Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen and Her by Spike Jonze. And those were both Oscar winners for Best Original Screenplay. So I'm trying to read all the Best Original Screenplays. All right, and then what else? Oh, okay, I watched a limited series, The Perfect Couple, on Netflix, and let me just say, it was, it's kind of like a bingey show. You can get through it real quick. Don't really remember much about it now, but I do remember Nicole Kidman looked fantastic. So whoever did her makeup and her hair and her costuming, great job, great styling on her. And then let's see, I guess now we'll go into movies. So I had the chance to house sit for the people who have Amazon Prime, and I was able to watch the Anne Hathaway movie, The Idea of You, about a divorced mother who becomes involved with the singer of a band that her daughter really likes. And it was actually charming. I really enjoyed it. It's not one that I would just like say, oh, I need to see that movie. But when I was watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really well done. So I'm glad I saw that. Then on the Hoopla app, which is a library app, I saw two like classic 70s movies. They both had Donald Sutherland in them. The first was called The Day of the Locust, and this is kind of like a scathing commentary on Hollywood. And it's kind of like a horror almost. And then the other one was Clute, starring Jane Fonda. And it's about a call girl who someone is trying to murder, and Donald Sutherland is the detective trying to figure it out. So yeah, I really liked both of those. Clute was the one that Jane Fonda won her Oscar for. Well, I think she's won a couple, but anyway, she won an Oscar for her performance in that movie. Speaking of Oscar Beatty performances, I went to the theater. I haven't gone to the theater in a long time. I saw The Substance, starring Demi Moore. Like, she deserves an Oscar nomination for that role. It's an amazing movie. It's horror, it's body horror, it's also fantasy. So, body horror fantasy movie. Um, but it is amazing. I love the script. It won the screenplay award at Cannes, I believe. And I love the cinematography, the acting. It was I think, a French female director, and it's just amazing. So if you can handle the blood and the gore, I definitely recommend The Substance. And now on to the Harvard PhD narrative film list. I've watched from number 76 through number 100. And some of these are just film school staples. You've got The Passion of Joan of Arc, The Blue Angel, M, The 39 Steps, Modern Times, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Now, there are four that I would like to talk about: Borderline, M, Christopher Strong, and Sisters of the Guion. So, Borderline, it's not a movie that I really remember a lot about, except for the actor. And this was the second movie on the Harvard list to star Paul Robeson. And I didn't really know about him, but he was a football star, and then he was an actor, and then he was a singer, and then he was a civil rights activist. I mean, he has just like this amazing career spanning all these different things. And I don't know why there hasn't been a docudrama based on his life, because he was just really amazing. Really had like star quality. I remember, so the one I saw before this was called Body and Soul, and he plays like a bad preacher. And as I was watching him, going, "Who is this guy?" So after I researched him, I found that I actually had heard him sing once before. It was, I think, 1933, 32, Old Man River. So look that up on YouTube. He's just got the most gorgeous voice. So yeah, Paul Robeson, great person. All right, and then moving on to the movie M. So M, the first time I saw it was, decades ago. German expressionistic film. I love German expressionism. Peter Lorre stars in it. If you don't know him, he was the guy who gets the letters of transit in Casablanca and gives them to Rick. But he's just an amazing actor. He has these amazing eyes, and It was really good. Now, I watched it a second time, and I didn't love it as much. Like, I don't know if I'll ever watch it again, but I totally appreciate it. It's one of those movies that just, it's a little slow. However, there was a remake 20 years later. So the original was 1931, takes place in Germany. The remake was 1951, takes place in America. And it's the same script. The American version, the main character, M, the murderer, M stands for murderer, he's just not as effective as Peter Lorre, because Peter Lorre just has those eyes, and he looks very distinctive. And also, like I've seen so many movies that take place in America, and it's just kind of boring. So if I, were to say, oh, should you watch the German one or should you watch the American one? I'd say watch the German one, because it's just, it's really good. It's really good. The next movie is Christopher Strong, directed by Dorothy Arzner. Now, this movie was really difficult to find. I couldn't find it anywhere. My friend who found me that 5.5 hour version of Napoleon couldn't find it. I had to buy this on Amazon for $15 just to watch it. It is Katharine Hepburn's first starring role, and she plays a female aviator who falls in love with a married man. It's a really interesting script, and what I liked about it was that all the characters are fleshed out and you feel for all of them. Her character, Christopher Strong, is the man she has the affair with, his wife, his daughter. They're all like friends, and then, this affair happens, and you feel for all of them. Really, you do. Christopher Strong, he's the bad guy here, but I just thought it was really interesting. Now, there is a scene that all the old movies did, and I wish movies did it these days. It's the dress-up scene. So Katharine Hepburn has to go to a costume party, and she dresses up like this cricket in this really sparkly suit, and it's really wonderful to look at. And yeah, we need more like dress-up scenes in movies. But anyway, when you look this up online, it says it's a pre-code film, so pre-Hays Code. And Hays Code is the one that made all the rules about what can and can't be done, trying to keep things moral in Hollywood. And, based on the subject matter of this film, it seems pre-code, but the ending is totally Hays Code. So I was a little shocked by that. I wanted to read the book, but it's not available. It's based on a novel, because I was wondering if the book ended the same way. But I searched on YouTube, and someone had made a response like, this is how Christopher Strong should have ended. And it was made for a feminist film studies class. And it was perfect. It was wonderful. And yes, that's the way the movie should have ended. But I'm not going to spoil anything, because in case you want to watch Christopher Strong, it's interesting. Now, as far as me owning this, I'm gonna, probably watch it again in a year, and then I'll figure out if I want to keep it in my collection. Because I only keep stuff that I know I'm gonna rewatch over and over. But it is kind of classic feminist cinema. And the last one I want to talk about on the Harvard list is Sisters of the Gion, directed by Kenji Mizoguchi. This is also a feminist movie. It's about two geishas, sisters, and one is very old-fashioned, and one is younger and, more modern. And the more modern one does something that disrupts everything. And the script is so good. I loved the script. And even the ending, the very ending, has this like short monologue by one of the characters, and it just hits home. I loved it. It's on the Criterion channel right now. And Mizoguchi, turns out, was the one who directed Ugetsu, which was a fantasy film that I had watched a few years ago and really loved. It's a supernatural fantasy. That's when I was researching all my supernatural horror movies, and even though Ugetsu wasn't a horror, it was really, really well done. And the good thing is there are 2 more movies on this Harvard list that I haven't seen by him. And I can't wait to watch them because, like, he's one of my favorite Japanese directors right now, based on Sisters of the Gion and Ugetsu. All right, so that's it for that part of the Harvard list. Now, Hispanic Heritage Month is from September 15th through October 15th. And what I was thinking of doing is skipping ahead in the Harvard list and just watching or focusing on watching the Hispanic films. So I'm going to go over those right now, as well as some other films I've found, like 27 in all. And please, if you've seen any of these and you really love, certain ones of them, please write it in the comments so I can just put those at the top of the list. Really appreciate it. Okay, here it goes. Amores Perros, Cría Cuervos, Death of a Cyclist, Lucia, Memories of Underdevelopment, Los Olvidados, and Viridiana. From the Sight and Sound list, La Ciénaga, The Exterminating Angel, and Zama. From the Cahiers du Cinéma list, The Barefoot Contessa and Elle. From the Best International Feature winners, The Official Story and El Secreto de sus Ojos. And then just from miscellaneous other films I've found, The Academy of Muses, Bardo, Carmen Vidal, Ava, Girl Fight, Latas Vacias, My Crazy Life, Parallel Mothers, Pickpockets, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Quinceañera, Tortilla Soup, and Totem. Yeah, so again, if you have seen any of those movies and you recommend any of them, let me know. I really appreciate it. That's it for this video. Wish me luck on getting the budget done soon. I will see you in the next video.